Well, good morning, everyone. Russ Riesinger here in the WTOC newsroom. We've been following some breaking news all morning down in Glenn County, where police have confirmed that 3 people have died after a standoff with law enforcement. Officials say that standoff involved a former police lieutenant, Robert Sasser, and it started at his home on US 341 in Hunters Point. That's in Brunswick Thursday night. They are holding a news conference right now, and we want to go ahead and listen into that.
That's Mr. Sasser. Mr. Sasser gave a decoy story to the DNR about the shots being fired. It sped off. He recognized at that point who the operator of the vehicle was as it being Mr. Sasser. McIntosh County Sheriff's deputies and DNR rangers were in the area, responded to a residence on Talamata Island where they located a male and female deceased from gunshot wounds. Evidence at the scene suggested that the male victim exchanged gunfire with the offender in that case. Within a few minutes later, Sergeant Mercier with the McIntosh County Sheriff's Office located the suspect vehicle being driven by Robert Sasser in the area of Highway 251 and US 17 in McIntosh County. There was a low-speed pursuit that was engaged when he attempted to stop the vehicle. The Darien Police Department and later the Glenn County Police Department and Glenn County Sheriff's Office joined that pursuit, and the pursuit continued until it ended at Mr. Sasser's residence on Hunters Drive in Glenn County. A perimeter was set up around the vehicle when it pulled in the driveway on Hunters Drive. Mr. Sasser never exited the vehicle. A perimeter was set up around that vehicle, and the Glenn County SWAT team was called out to deal with the situation. SWAT team set up and deployed. The only shots that were fired by law enforcement was when they shot CS gas into the vehicle trying to get Mr. Sasser out of the vehicle. After several hours of no movement, SWAT team members approached the vehicle and found Mr. Sasser deceased inside of the vehicle. At that time, the scene was secured. The Georgia Bureau of Investigations was called in, and the scene was turned over to them. Does anybody have any questions?
Do you know whose vehicle that was, the silver Tacoma?
Stacey, do you know?
The vehicle was leased by. The vehicle was leased by Mr. Sasser.
Do we have any idea of the relation between the 2 people in McIntosh County and Mr. Sasser?
We do know, but at this time that investigation is still ongoing, and the McIntosh County Sheriff's Office is not leasing those names, pending notification of next of kin.
Is this the same Robert Sasser that was involved in Caroline Small's death?
Yes, ma'am.
And we know that there was another standoff involving Mr. Sasser recently. Any comment about his estranged wife, or because it's our understanding that that was related to that standoff and his suspension?
We're not going to make any comments right now on the incident that occurred prior to this.
There's a rumor circulating that he saw his ex-wife recently this week in a restaurant and made a threatening gesture towards her, that there was a police report filed and several witnesses were interviewed, but no action was taken. Is that the case? And can you tell me, if so, why was no action taken?
Chief Powell.
Yeah, Scott, I appreciate you asking that. This, certainly this whole thing circles around a domestic issue, and that's an incorrect statement about no action being taken. As a matter of fact, there was a thorough investigation done, and we were working with our partners with the judicial system to try to come up with a resolution for that. So the investigation is ongoing, was ongoing at the time, and still ongoing currently.
Was it a situation where you feel he could have been detained at that point, or did you still feel comfortable with him being free at that juncture?
Well, certainly there's certain restrictions that we have as law enforcement. We have to make sure that we have probable cause established that has to be reviewed by judicial authorities. Once again, we were working in concert with the judicial authorities to identify if there was probable cause to make an arrest. We were taking every step available to us under the law to ensure, a safe outcome.
So there was a report. There may have been an incident.
There was a report. That's correct.
Has Glenn County been monitoring him since his last arrest in May, and have you been looking at his stability and after placing him on administrative leave without pay?
Glenn County Police Department specifically has not been monitoring him. He was out on bond. He was being monitored in a pretrial bond status, but not by the Glenn County Police specifically.
When was he expected to be back in court?
He was due in court Tuesday. I believe he had permission to be in Glenn County Tuesday. I'm sorry? Yeah, this past Tuesday, he had permission to be in Glenn County for a civil court hearing in Superior Court.
What's our permission to be in Glenn County?
Where was he not allowed to go and go?
He was not supposed to be, I believe, in this judicial circuit. Is that correct?
What time frame was he allowed back into Glenn County on Tuesday?
I do not have that information, Scott.
Sergeant, you had mentioned that the boyfriend exchanged gunfire. Do we know if he was able to hit Sasser at any point during that exchange?
No, I didn't. Actually, I didn't say the boyfriend exchanged gunfire. The male subject exchanged gunfire with Mr. Sasser. At this point in the investigation, we do not know if Mr. Sasser was hit by any of that gunfire. That will not be available until the outcome of an autopsy.
Does any portion of this investigation thus far lead you to believe that this was a premeditated thing on Sasser's part, simply because we spoke to neighbors who say that truck they did not recognize that he was in, had never seen before?
That is still under investigation by the McIntosh Sheriff's Office. Just a second. Terry?
Was there anyone else in the home in McIntosh County during that exchange of gunfire?
Sheriff?
Sadly, it's still under investigation, and McIntosh County is not going to be making any response about any of this. We hope that we'll wind up most of this investigation sometime this afternoon, but at this time, we're not going to make any response to any questions.
Back to the issue of Sasser being back in town earlier this week for the hearing. Was there a system put in place to provide that he did make it into town when he was supposed to and leave when he was supposed to?
You want
He was under a bond order, pretrial bond order, and that was by the local probation office. They have their stipulations that they have to go. They give approval for he to come and go. As soon as court was to be over, as we understand, he was supposed to leave the county, from what we understand with the bond order. He was given authority to come in the day before, which was a Monday, and be here for court on Tuesday, which could have taken from an hour to all day. But as soon as court was over, he was to leave as soon as possible.
Was anyone in charge of ensuring that that took place?
The local probation officer.
Does that include Glenn County and McIntosh County?
No, it's two separate. Two separate, and it was the local probation. It wasn't state probation. It was a local private probation office.
And I just want to make sure my information is correct. So he wasn't allowed in Glenn County?
According to the pre-trial order, he was to only report back upon approval of the probation office for hearings that had to do with his case or a civil case. Now, any of this that has to do with the court proceedings will need to be addressed to District Attorney Jackie Johnson, who will be handling that part that has to do with anything related to the court. But those orders were given out with pre-trial from the magistrate judge.
We know that y'all aren't identifying any of the victims, but do you know where his estranged wife is? Just because he has a history of domestic incidents with her.
Yes, ma'am. Like it's been said a couple of times, it's under investigation. We think that currently the threat that Mr. Sasser posed has been eliminated, has been taken care of. But yes, we do have information where the estranged wife is located.
The firearm that was used both in McIntosh and Glenn County was on probation, so who did that belong to? Was it registered to him or was it stolen?
Station.
We're in the early stages of this investigation, and right now we're not going to release anything in reference to where the guns came from or anything of that nature.
We were told that Sasser's son is also in law enforcement. Is that something you can confirm or are willing to at this point, if it's true or not?
I would refer those comments to Chief Kevin Jones with the Brunswick Police Department.
Who shot the two victims in McIntosh County?
Yeah, that's still under investigation.
This might be a question best for the chief. Obviously, Lieutenant Sasser worked in the department. How is this different, investigating an incident like this involving one of your own? How difficult is it, and how different does it feel, just from a human standpoint and a professional one as well, sir?
Professionally, it's always difficult to investigate any type of case like this, whether they work with the police department or not. From a personal standpoint, we're not allowed to let our personal feelings get involved in it. But the investigation will continue with all the state, the federal, local law enforcement partners. We will, get it resolved. All the issues, all the questions will be answered, hopefully. We will continue to work together and, identify all the circumstances that surrounded this incident.
What's the next step in this investigation?
We are working closely with GBI, waiting their completion of their investigation. And then once they finish up the investigation, we'll all come together. We'll do a review. There will be a case file that will be prepared for Glenn County, and I assume it would also be the same thing for McIntosh. That will be presented to the district attorney for their review.
Any idea when you all will be releasing the names of the victims?
That will be up to McIntosh County.
You got a time frame?
I hope this afternoon.
This afternoon?
Terry, go ahead. You had a question.
I understand he was restricted from being in the Brunswick Judicial Circuit. One assumes there was also an order that he had to stay away from his ex-wife.
I believe that is correct.
That'll be addressed.
Yeah, that'll be addressed by the district attorney. All right. Thank y'all.
Any other plans, briefings at any point during the day?
The district attorney will be holding a briefing like the sheriff mentioned, but I don't have that timeline. I would ask that you contact the district attorney, Jackie Johnson, to kind of get that, get the timeline on that.
Thank you.
All right. Thank y'all for coming out. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief. And Brian did a good job. Very good.